How's it going, my G's? I hope you're doing well. Hope you all had a good start to the new year. I thought I'd do a little video today just to explain a little process that I do sometimes with layering up my bass lines. A little bit of arrangement, a little bit of layering, and we'll do a little bit of synthesis in Vital as well. I thought today I'm gonna not edit a video or do anything that's too much effort. So excuse the unedited, no special effects video. But today what we're going to create is this little loop that sounds a bit like this. Okay, and it comes mostly from this bass here, which I've called Down the Wire. And you see I've held out this long MIDI note, and if you play it, you know, as it is with the drums and everything like that, it's cool, but it doesn't quite have enough like dynamic interest or space. So what I did was I chopped it up by bouncing out to audio, and then basically arranging it in a more interesting way. And one thing that I like to play with is if you've got a normal kick and snare pattern, you know, your kick is on the 1, and then your snare is on like the 2, and then the 3 is sort of empty, and then the second kick is on like the 3.5, and then the second snare is on the 4. But this right in the middle part, this sort of number 3, 1, 2, 3, sometimes that's nice to leave a gap. So what I've done here is I've bounced out the bass, and then I've put a gap here on this middle part. And with the drums, it just becomes, you know, you have that stop gap right in the middle, which is really cool. Would be perfect to place a little extra hi-hat as well. Compositionally wise. Slurpy derp. I haven't got a drink, I'm sorry. Then what I did next was I layered it up. But let's have a quick look into the Vital patch really quickly. This video has no structure, I'm aware of that. But hopefully you can learn a bit. So the first thing I did was, you can see I'm using the terrible Logic keyboard because I don't have a keyboard here. Anyway, what I did was I went into the first oscillator, which was actually a square wave, and I just drew like a point up here. So if you see, you know, it's kind of a square wave again. But I drew this point up here so I could get these extra harmonics in the square, and it became a lot more interesting like that. So that's one thing that, you know, actually did quite a lot to the sound, and I probably just messed it up. So let me just revert to the saved one, because I probably turned up the wrong thing. Oh, it looks kind of similar. Anyway, so what I did was then I started off with this square wave, saw wave with these harmonics in, and the level is down because what I ended up doing was running it through a couple of sine waves, and we get a lot of movement when we add in 2 sine waves that are pitched differently. So turning that off and then FMing it into sine wave number 1, which is at -2 and a bit, and another sine wave which is at 0. And essentially the movement is coming from the detuning between these sine waves, and then also an LFO as well. So there's 2 like main controllers of the movement here. And this formant mode was really important as well to switch on, because that just completely changes the shape and makes it a bit smoother. So it's a little bit of a backwards, like how I'm explaining it, I'm kind of going backwards because I already designed it and got those settings that I wanted. But I mostly wanted to talk about the arrangement today. But I'll drop this patch for free as well. You guys can have it and play around with it. And this is a little filter, just doing some phaser movement on only the oscillator 2 and 3, because 1 is not on anyway because the level is down. And just mixing that in a bit, and moving that up and down a little bit on this LFO. And the LFO is set to 1/4 dotted, which is a funky rhythm, but it's also then got a bit of extra movement. I think it's from LFO 2. Yes. So LFO 2 comes over and modulates the phase of LFO 1, giving it like a funky difference. I call it the LFO sandwich because when it comes up here, it's going to change the phase of the LFO1, changing the rhythm of it, the rhythm of it. And then, by the way, shout out to my G7 new student who joined yesterday and had a nice lesson here. First time I've had a lesson here in Medellin. Yeah. And yeah, this is then, you know, when it's going up, that's when the change is happening to the LFO phase here. And then when it's back down to flat, then it's just going to be running the normal LFO1 pattern. So it's a way that you can like get a little change over time and then have like two kind of different rhythms happening almost, you know? So yeah, we got that going on. And yeah, like with the filters, there's like a little bit of white noise, and then I've got like a little bit of chorus, that's also on my LFO. I've got a little bit of compression, which is not compressing, it's just adding a bit of like extra high-end noise, just a little bit in the mix. Distortion drive, I'm liking the, you know, modulating the drive still a lot of the time, even if it's a little bit. It's an extra way to get a dynamic edge to the movement, because the best basses are always the ones that have the best dynamic movement. That's what I found. If you target the right frequency areas, you get a nice sort of tone, nice character on the sound, and then you make sure it's got a nice weighty, like really dynamic movement in the low end. And that's going to make it nice and powerful and interesting in the mix down. Yeah, like a little bit more on the filter here. Like just an extra filter to mess around with the mid-range a bit. Just sort of defines the low end a bit better. Then I'm like, the thing with the EQ, why I always boost it, is because you can see like there's two like kind of holes. There's one down here, and there's one here as well. But you only get one sort of band EQ, I think. Unless, can you change it here and do another one? I don't think so, no. So you can only boost like one time, like in a precise area. But like the low end was more important to me here. Otherwise I would boost this part as well a little bit. But I could do that in an EQ afterwards, I was just lazy. But yeah, that was the important part, to get that fullness in the sound. Then like a stupidly small amount of reverb, actually off pretty much. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this one, but like have a play around with it, because I'm going to leave the free preset in the comments down below. While you're down there, make sure you book in for your next Artifact lesson, make sure you buy some Vital presets, make sure you get some faceplant presets, make sure you get some merchandise off my website, make sure you sales. I'm good at that. Yeah, anyway, next. Let's see what I've done in the post-processing. So, like I said before, I chopped it up nicely. So really nice and funky. And I actually did a little variation here where the last one is like slightly later, but earlier actually. Yeah, so just the last note here comes a little bit earlier. So next up, what we do is layer up the sound with a fresh layer. So here's what the layer sounds like. Shout out to Princess Leia. And yeah, if I could run through one at a time, because it's quite important. The main thing that I wanted to do is do a bandpass filter, because I love them, but like on their own, they take out too many frequencies. So you want to use it like as a layer a lot of the time. And wow, get that bandpass sound in there. And I just chose a rhythm that kind of fitted, and it's the 1/4 dotted, which is kind of what my LFO is doing on Vital as well. But it's not so important as long as it sounds alright together. But what you'll notice is, without processing it further, I'm still using like the same frequencies, even though we're shifting between, you know, the frequencies with the bandpass. It's still the same harmonic content in a sense. So that's why it will cause like a little bit of a phasing, or it won't like add an extra dimension to the sound because it's too similar. So we need to change it up. So we're going to distort it first with Ruiner. So that already adds like a load of extra harmonics. So that's already pretty much doing the job for us. And I just use the blend mode to do the dry and wet, so it's not all the way up. So just a little. a little bit of distortion, and I just turn up the overdrive a bit and the saturate, which kind of brings out the high end a bit more. So that's exciting. That's a free plugin as well, so you should definitely download that in my G's Bow Selector. And then here we have the Falkland Palace reverb setting from the Kilohertz Convolver, which I love. But I wanted to use it a lot, but it just was tailing on for too long, the reverb, so I just brought it back down to 6 or 7%. There we go. Happy days. The important thing is with obviously layers is you don't want to really layer up your low end, because that's, again, you want to keep the power in your original bass. So I have taken out some low end. I would often go higher, but in this case I haven't gone too high. I've gone up to 200. It's pretty low, probably the lowest I would ever go. How low can you go? That's the question we're all asking of you. That's right, Stephen. Yeah. Anyway, here's the feedback mix on the Rift Feedback Lite as well. So the little delay, nice little ping pong, giving it a little bit of space to do its thing, and shortening the feedback a bit. Again, taking out a bit of the low end on that and then mixing it in just a tiny bit to add some stereo interest. And on its own, not that great, but when you put it with our bass now, we can just tweak like the bandpass, like filter area as well. That's quite important. But it's adding a lot of extra depth and interest to the sound. So if I do a little comparison, really filling out a bit more of the background, and I'm going to shorten that delay just a little bit as well. Because I still want to keep those, I still want to hear those gaps when I've placed them. There's a little bit of a tail now as well, but it's quite quiet, so it's not like affecting the groove. If it was like tailing like really loudly, then I wouldn't have that dynamic impact of those silent gaps that I've put in. But anyway, those silent gaps don't stay silent for very long, because then I've actually added a few extra basses, and these are just a couple of like random one-shots from Vital, Serum and Phase Plant, and they sound like this, but we won't go into the sound design of these because they're pretty simple, and they're kind of like presets that I'd already done like before, or that Yatuza had done one of them as well. But they're not like super complicated. It's just like a one-shot like bass stab, just 3 different textures basically. So yeah, simple bassy one-shots to fill out the gaps. So then when we play that all together, so there you got a nice sort of almost like a call and response, but yeah, essentially I've just chopped out some funky gaps and replaced them with one-shots of other basses, so it's not too complicated really. But it's super funky already, isn't it? And it wasn't that much work to get such a nice funky groove. Obviously I'm a natural, but no, I'm just kidding. But my takeaway for this is, yeah, if you've got a nice long crazy Vital bass like in one of my patches perhaps, but you want to make it more usable, bounce it all out, chop out some funky like stop gaps in the section, move them around a bit if you want as well, and then yeah, like you can think about how you can layer one up to give it more interest as well. There's different ways you can do it, but yeah, one technique I really like, doing some band pass movement, get a bit of a wow funk to it, and then change up the harmonics so that when you blend it in, it's going to have the extra layer and like new frequencies to go with it. So it won't be like phasing because it's not the same frequencies because you've affected them. And yeah, a little bit of convolver that helps to do that as well. Make sure you take out the low end. And yeah, a little bit of extra stereo interest on the layers because you can afford to go a bit harder. I've gone really subtle in this one, but in other ones I might go super stereoed with the delay because it's like a layer, so it's not like you're affecting the main like powerful mono bass. Well, it's not really mono, but it's got the mono power in it, So yeah, that's my little demonstration for today. I hope you guys have a wicked start to the new year. Leave a comment down below what you'd like me to do next. Take off my t-shirt, run around, do like cartwheels, make faceplant bases, talk about life and the importance of being earnest. No, I don't know. Just write something so that I don't feel as lonely. Just kidding. Am I? I don't know. Bye.